Welcome to How to Become Dangerously Confident, an audiobook by Liberty Audiobook. In a world that constantly demands your attention, judges your every move, and tries to pull you in 1,000 different directions, true power lies not in shouting louder, but in standing unshakable. It is not about forcing people to notice you, chasing fleeting approval, or wearing a mask to impress. Real confidence is a quiet force, a steady presence that draws others in without you ever having to demand their attention. It is the calm certainty that emanates from within, signaling that you are not easily swayed, provoked, or controlled. This is the essence of dangerous confidence. Most people navigate life in a constant state of reaction. They react to criticism, to rejection, to the relentless chaos of daily events, to the ever-shifting opinions of others. Every single reaction chips away at their energy, their focus, their very sense of self. They become puppets, their emotions and actions dictated by external forces. But what if you could learn to react to nothing? What if you could reclaim your power, becoming so grounded that external pressures simply bounce off you? Imagine moving through the world with an untouchable presence, a rare and profound authority that cannot be faked or manufactured. Many gurus and self-help guides will tell you to fake it till you make it, to simply be yourself, or to think positive thoughts. While intention matters, these platitudes often fall short because they miss a fundamental truth. Confidence is not inherited, and it is not an act. Science tells us that no one is born with confidence. It is meticulously built, brick by brick, through intentional action and deep self-mastery. My own journey, like many others, started from a place of shyness, preferring the back benches, fearing public speaking. Yet, through applying specific, scientifically backed methods, I learned to speak with an ease and conviction that once felt impossible. This is not about transforming into someone else. It is about uncovering and unleashing the most potent, most authentic version of you. In this audiobook, we will dismantle the myths surrounding confidence and provide you with a powerful framework to build an inner fortress that stands strong against any storm. You will discover practical steps and timeless truths that, when applied, will not only transform how you feel about yourself, but fundamentally alter how the world perceives and responds to you. We will delve into how to silence the nagging voice of self-doubt, how to master your emotions rather than be enslaved by them, how to detach from outcomes, and how to carry yourself with the quiet authority of someone who needs nothing and fears nothing. This is not about pretending. This is about truly becoming. So, take a deep breath, clear your mind, and prepare to step into the strongest, most resilient, and most dangerously confident version of yourself. Let us begin. Chapter 1. Stop explaining yourself. One of the fastest and most insidious ways people unconsciously drain their confidence is by constantly explaining themselves. Pause for a moment and consider how often you find yourself launching into lengthy, often unnecessary, justifications, all driven by an underlying fear of judgment or misunderstanding. Perhaps you arrived late to an appointment. Instead of a simple, "Thank you for waiting, I appreciate your patience," you find yourself entangled in a 5-minute narrative about traffic snarls, a malfunctioning alarm, or a mysteriously dead phone battery. Or perhaps a colleague questions one of your decisions, and you fall an overwhelming compulsion to elaborate on every intricate detail, desperate for them to grasp your reasoning, to understand, and ultimately, to approve. Here is the stark truth. Confident people do not operate in apology mode. They do not scramble to prove their every move to everyone who might cast a questioning glance. Why? Because they operate from a place of intrinsic self-worth that is not, and never has been, up for debate. When you consciously choose to stop over-explaining, you instantly project an aura of strength. Your words, though fewer, carry more weight. Your very presence begins to command a deeper, more profound respect. Now, let us be clear. This is not an invitation to become rude, dismissive, or arrogant. This is not about shutting down dialogue or refusing accountability when it is genuinely required. Rather, it is about discerning when to keep your communication concise, clear, and firm. It is about learning to stand by your choices with a quiet conviction, allowing them to speak for themselves. If someone probes you for a why, you do not owe them a detailed autobiography. A simple, confident response is often more than sufficient. Imagine the quiet power in someone stating, "I chose this path because it aligns with my values," and then simply stopping. No further explanation, no defensive backpedaling, just calm, unwavering certainty. That, my friend, is confidence in its purest form. Every time you offer an unnecessary explanation, you are inadvertently sending a silent, subtle message to yourself and to the world. I need your approval to feel secure in my actions. This subconscious plea for validation erodes your internal locus of control. Conversely, every time you keep your response brief, allowing your choice to stand on its own merits, you transmit a far more resonant message. I do not require your permission or understanding to validate my decisions. This small but significant shift begins to rewire your own perception of your authority. Let us look at this through a historical lens. Consider figures like Eleanor Roosevelt, known for her steadfast commitment to human rights. She often faced intense scrutiny and criticism, yet her responses were typically direct, principled, and devoid of excessive justification. Her actions, rooted in deeply held beliefs, spoke louder than any lengthy defense. She understood that her worth was not contingent on universal agreement, but on her integrity. Or think of the legendary Roman philosopher Seneca, a proponent of Stoicism. He taught that one should act according to virtue and reason, and not be swayed by external opinions or the need to justify oneself to a fickle public. To constantly explain oneself from a Stoic perspective is to surrender one's inner peace to the opinions of others, a definite loss of liberty. Here is a practical challenge for you. Starting this very moment and extending for the next week, become acutely aware of your conversational patterns. Catch yourself in the act, that precise moment when you start to pile on excuses or launch into verbose explanations. Stop, replace them with something simple, firm, and direct. Perhaps, "I cannot make it," instead of a long tale of woe, or "I haven't decided to go this way," instead of a dissertation on your thought process, or a calm, "that does not work for me." And then, crucially, allow the silence to follow. Let that silence carry the weight of your confidence. At first, this practice will feel profoundly uncomfortable. Will feel a powerful urge to fill the void, to justify, to soften your words, to preemptively manage others' potential disappointment or judgment. This discomfort is a sign that you are breaking deeply ingrained patterns of seeking external validation. But with consistent practice, you will discover something truly life-changing. The less you explain, the stronger you feel. People will begin to take your statements more seriously. Your presence will command a deeper gravity. And most importantly, you will begin to take yourself more seriously. Dangerous confidence often begins with this deceptively small, yet incredibly powerful shift. Stop explaining. Stop over-justifying. Trust your choices. Stand by your words. Because the moment you no longer feel the incessant need to explain yourself to everyone, you have already taken your first powerful step toward becoming truly untouchable. Chapter 2. Master your inner voice. If your ambition is to cultivate dangerous confidence, you must first confront and master the most influential voice in your life, the one that speaks incessantly within your own head. This inner monologue is not a passive observer. It is either your most potent ally, propelling you toward greatness, or your most formidable adversary, subtly sabotaging your every move. It is either an architect of your strength or a relentless sculptor of your self-doubt. And here is the crucial insight that most people fail to grasp. The way you habitually speak to yourself in the privacy of your own mind eventually manifests in how you present yourself to the world. Consider this dynamic. If your inner voice is a constant chorus of "I am not good enough," "I always mess things up," or "everyone is probably judging me," how do you think you will physically and emotionally present yourself when you walk into a room? You will likely appear nervous, hesitant, and diminish your own physical space. But if that same inner voice is calmly asserting, "I can handle this," "I have overcome tougher challenges before," or "I am exactly where I need to be right now," you will enter that identical room taller, calmer, and mentally sharper. Same individual, vastly different internal dialogue, and that difference, though unseen, changes everything. Confidence is not born from external applause, a string of achievements, or the fleeting attention of others. It originates deep within the architecture of your mind. It begins with the words, narratives, and beliefs you permit to echo and resonate inside your head. While you possess limited control over what others may say about you, you wield absolute dominion over what you choose to repeat to yourself every single day. The common pitfall is waiting for life to validate us before we attempt to reprogram this inner voice. We tell ourselves, "Once I succeed, I will feel confident," or "Once people respect me, I will finally speak to myself with kindness." However, the process works in the opposite direction. You do not wait for external proof. You initiate the internal shift that creates the proof. You begin to speak to yourself as if you are already a person worthy of profound respect and capability. And then, organically, your actions begin to align with and reflect that deeply held internal belief. Here lies the secret. Your brain, a marvel of adaptive machinery, fundamentally believes repetition. Whatever narratives you consistently feed it become your reality. Tell yourself you are weak, inept, or incapable for long enough, and you will inevitably begin to shrink, physically and mentally, into that self-perception. Conversely, affirm to yourself with unwavering consistency that you are capable, strong, and calm, and you will inexorably begin to rise to meet those words, embodying them in your demeanor and your performance. The inner voice functions much like a thermostat, meticulously setting the emotional temperature of your confidence. If it is set low, you will perpetually gravitate back towards that lower state, regardless of any transient external successes. If it is calibrated high, you will possess the intrinsic fortitude to rise above challenges, not merely because you hope to, but because you fundamentally believe you belong at that elevated level. So, how does one embark on the journey of mastering this powerful inner voice? The first step is to cultivate acute self-awareness. Catch it in the act. Pay meticulous attention to the subtle, quiet lines you whisper to yourself throughout the day. When you inevitably stumble or make a mistake, what is your immediate internal response? Do you harshly berate yourself with, "I am so stupid," or do you calmly reframe it with, "That's okay, I will learn from this and do better next time"? When you catch a glimpse of your reflection, do you immediately zoom in on every perceived flaw, or do you gently remind yourself of your progress, your efforts, and your inherent worth? These seemingly small, often overlooked, internal moments are the very crucibles that shape your entire self-perception. The objective here is not to force a facade of fake positivity or to delude yourself into believing you are perfect. Dangerous confidence is not about constructing lies. It is about choosing to speak to yourself with strength and resilience, even when circumstances are far from ideal. It is about consciously selecting words that construct and empower, rather than words that dismantle and destroy. For instance, instead of the paralyzing thought, "I cannot handle this," you can reframe it as, "This is challenging, but I possess the resourcefulness to figure it out." Instead of, "I always fail," you can assert, "Every setback I encounter teaches me something invaluable, making me inherently stronger." When you assume the role of director of your inner voice, rather than allowing it to run wild and unchecked, you will observe a powerful transformation. You will stop reacting with such harshness to external challenges, unexpected criticism, or the sting of rejection. Why? Because your internal mental architecture is now trained to support and affirm you. Your mind ceases to be your harshest critic and instead becomes your most unwavering ally. Let me present you with a challenge. For the next 30 days, every single morning, articulate 3 specific affirmations aloud to yourself. They might be, "I respect myself, I am capable of handling anything that today brings, and I do not require anyone's approval to move forward." It might feel awkward or even a bit silly at first, but consistently repeat these lines, day after day, and observe how your body begins to unconsciously carry them. Notice the subtle shifts in your energy during conversations. Observe how you walk into situations with a newfound sense of self-possession. Your inner voice is not merely a component of your confidence, it is its foundational bedrock. Master it, and you will not merely project an image of confidence. You will feel it resonating deeply within your very bones. And once that profound internal conviction takes root, no external force can ever truly diminish it, because here is the profound truth. Confidence is not what happens when others believe in you. Confidence is what happens when you believe in yourself first, and that unwavering belief commences with the voice inside your head. Chapter 3. Build respect before confidence. Every truly enduring form of confidence, the kind that we refer to as dangerous confidence, is predicated upon one fundamental, undeniable truth. You simply cannot feel genuinely powerful if you do not first cultivate a profound and unwavering respect for yourself. Respect, in this context, is not merely an admirable trait, it is the bedrock, the unshakable foundation upon which all authentic confidence is built. Without this internal bedrock, confidence becomes nothing more than a superficial performance, an elaborate act, a finely crafted mask designed to convince others of a strength you secretly lack. But when you painstakingly build genuine self-respect, brick by brick, confidence ceases to be an act you perform. It organically transforms into the very essence of who you are. Consider for a moment how you typically interact with individuals you hold in high esteem. You listen intently to their words. You genuinely value their time. You inherently trust their judgment and decisions. Now engage in a moment of honest introspection. Do you extend this same level of deference and consideration to yourself, or do you habitually undermine yourself with a barrage of self-criticism? Do you routinely neglect your own profound needs, consistently pushing them aside? Do you passively permit others to transgress your personal boundaries because, deep down, you hold a subconscious belief that you are not entirely worthy of better treatment? The uncomfortable truth is that the way you consistently treat yourself establishes the implicit standard for how the rest of the world will inevitably treat you. If you routinely disregard your own time and priorities, others will quickly learn to do the same. If you allow yourself to engage in harsh, demeaning self-talk, you will, by extension, tacitly tolerate others speaking to you in a similar manner. But when you consciously begin to demonstrate genuine self-respect, when you choose to hold yourself to a higher, more dignified standard, the people around you instinctively sense this shift. They respond differently, and it is precisely in this recalibration of external response, driven by your internal self-reverence, that dangerous confidence begins its inexorable ascent. Self-respect is not typically forged in the fires of grand, monumental achievements. Rather, it is meticulously crafted through the accumulation of small, daily, deliberate choices that continually reinforce a powerful message to your subconscious mind. I matter. My well-being is a priority. This includes the consistent act of keeping promises to yourself, of following through on commitments you have made internally, and of steadfastly refusing to settle for situations or relationships that directly contradict your core values and principles. Each one of these seemingly minor acts of self-respect accrues, building an invisible but potent reservoir of inner strength. When you consistently rise early because you committed to it, that is an act of self-respect. When you choose to disengage from a toxic, draining conversation instead of clinging on in the desperate bid for approval, that is an act of self-respect. When you articulate a clear personal boundary and then steadfastly uphold it, that too is an act of self-respect. Every single one of these choices, while potentially appearing insignificant from an external vantage point, collectively culminates in the deep, unshakable conviction that you are a person who can be trusted by yourself. And once you cultivate that profound self-trust, authentic confidence flows forth as naturally and effortlessly as a river to the sea. Here lies the absolute key. Prioritize respecting yourself first and foremost. When you do, the world, through its natural laws of human interaction, is left with no alternative but to adjust its behavior accordingly. You will cease to beg for fleeting recognition. You will no longer feel compelled to exhaust yourself explaining or proving your inherent worth. You will simply know it. And precisely because you possess that deep, internal knowing, others will begin to perceive it with crystal clarity. To draw on timeless wisdom, ancient Greek philosophers like Aristotle emphasized the concept of magnanimity, a virtue closely tied to self-respect, where a great-souled person possesses high self-esteem because they genuinely deserve it, due to their virtuous actions and self-mastery. This is not arrogance, it is a recognition of earned inner stature. Similarly, the concept of individual liberty, championed by thinkers across the ages, posits that true freedom begins with self-governance and self-possession. You cannot be truly free if you do not respect the sanctity of your own being. Therefore, if your aspiration is to construct confidence that endures, confidence that withstands the trials of life, do not begin with superficial pep talks or hollow affirmations. Begin with respect. Begin with the precise way you engage in internal dialogue with yourself, the deliberate manner in which you carry yourself, and the unwavering commitment you make to uphold a higher standard for your own life. Confidence that lacks the foundation of respect is ultimately hollow and ephemeral. But respect, diligently practiced and embodied every single day, will inevitably overflow, blossoming into a form of confidence so robust and formidable that it truly cannot be shattered. And once you have meticulously built that, it is yours, irrevocably. No one, under any circumstances, can ever wrest it from you. Chapter 4. Kill the need for approval. One of the most insidious traps that relentlessly steals your confidence, chipping away at your inner resolve, is the pervasive and often unconscious need for external approval. You undoubtedly recognize this sensation, that persistent, almost primal itch within that constantly whispers, "Do they like me? Do they agree with my perspective? Am I truly good enough in their eyes?" It is a subtle but potent force, silently dictating the choices and behaviors of countless individuals. They select their attire not for their own comfort or preference, but for the anticipated commentary of others. They curate and post content on social media, not primarily to share, but to solicit validation in the form of likes and comments. They tirelessly chase compliments, deftly sidestep criticism, and feel utterly crushed when their efforts fail to elicit the expected applause. Herein lies the fundamental problem. When the very edifice of your confidence is predicated upon the fluctuating sands of external approval, it will, by its very nature, remain perpetually fragile. Approval, by its definition, is something that can be bestowed one moment and capriciously withdrawn the next. One day, the crowd may be cheering your name. The very next, they might be vociferously criticizing your actions. If your intrinsic self-worth is inextricably tied to the ebb and flow of these external reactions, you are condemned to live as a mere puppet, your emotional strings manipulated by forces entirely beyond your control. The profound truth is this: no one in this vast, indifferent world owes you their approval. And crucially, no one else's transient opinion should ever possess the ultimate power to define your inherent worth. When you make the conscious and deliberate choice to sever the cords of your need for approval, you liberate yourself in a truly profound way. You cease the exhausting chase for applause and redirect your focus toward the more noble pursuit of living with profound authenticity. You stop contorting your life, bending it out of shape to conform to the ever-shifting expectations of others, and instead, you begin the exhilarating work of constructing a life that feels deeply and intrinsically right to you. That, my friend, is the fertile ground from which dangerous confidence takes root and blossoms. Reflect upon the individuals you most deeply admire. Are they typically the ones who tirelessly strive to please every single person, carefully tailoring their opinions to avoid dissent? Or are they, more often, the ones who stand with unwavering conviction, even when their stance is met with widespread disagreement or unpopularity? Invariably, it is the latter group. This is because genuine strength is not found in being universally liked. It is forged in the fires of being respected for your steadfast commitment to your authentic self. Now let me clarify an important distinction. There is absolutely nothing inherently wrong with deriving pleasure from genuine praise. There is no fault in feeling a surge of happiness when someone sincerely appreciates your hard work or your character. The critical issue arises when this appreciation transitions from a pleasant bonus to an absolute necessity, when you become entirely dependent upon it to feel valuable or worthy. The very instant you allow this dependency to take hold, you effectively hand over a remote control to your emotional well-being. And as you well know, people have a tendency to change channels with alarming speed and without prior notice. So, how does one embark on the journey to systematically dismantle this deep-seated need for approval? Begin incrementally. Practice the simple, yet revolutionary act of saying no without appending a lengthy justification. Train yourself to make decisions based on your own internal compass, on what you intrinsically know is right for you, even if you anticipate that others may not fully comprehend or endorse your choice. Daily, remind yourself of this potent mantra. Their approval is optional. My self-respect is non-negotiable. You will observe a powerful, almost paradoxical phenomenon. When you cease the relentless pursuit of approval, initially, some individuals may react negatively. They might label you as arrogant, selfish, or stubbornly inflexible. But remain steady, remain unyielding in your newfound autonomy. Because, given time and consistent demonstration of your self-possession, those very same individuals will begin to harbor a deeper respect for you than they ever did when you were constantly bending yourself into knots to gain their acceptance. Why? Because while people may enjoy the temporary gratification of your seeking their approval, they universally admire those who demonstrably do not need it. Dangerous confidence is born in that transformative moment when you walk into a room and your primary thought is not, "Will they like me?" but rather, "Am I showing up here in a way that aligns with my self-respect and integrity?" That profound internal shift changes everything. It elevates you from the role of a performer, constantly seeking validation from the audience, to the role of a leader, grounded in your own conviction. The world, frankly, is not in desperate need of another individual begging for likes, chasing fleeting applause, or perpetually awaiting permission to be themselves. One, however, instinctively gravitates towards and profoundly respects the individual who demonstrably needs none of it. One who moves forward with unwavering purpose, with or without external endorsement. The one who lives as though they already possess every essential validation and resource within their own being. And that person, dear listener, can absolutely be you. The day you definitively cease chasing approval, you step into an entirely new realm of personal freedom. You stop reacting reflexively to every comment, every fleeting glance, every shard of criticism. You begin to construct and inhabit a life defined by your own terms, your own values, your own choices. That is precisely when people truly begin to notice you. Not because you have explicitly asked them to, but because they are simply incapable of ignoring someone who radiates such powerful self-possession and requires no external validation whatsoever. And that, in its purest form, is dangerous confidence. Chapter 5. Respond with silence, not emotion. One of the most profound and unmistakable hallmarks of genuine confidence is not found in the volume of your voice, but in the quiet power of your stillness. Most people are mistakenly convinced that true strength is demonstrated by having the final word, by aggressively proving their intelligence or sharpness in every exchange. Yet, real strength, the kind that commands enduring respect, often manifests as its antithesis. It is the cultivated ability to remain utterly calm, to maintain a deliberate silence, and to steadfastly refuse to be drawn into every emotional skirmish or pointless debate. Consider for a moment the myriad ways individuals routinely squander their personal power because they simply cannot resist the urge to react, to respond immediately. Someone offers a mild critique, and they impulsively snap back with a defensive retort. Someone treats them with disrespect, and they explode in a surge of anger. Someone challenges their viewpoint, and they frantically rush to justify every aspect of their position. In those reactive moments, they might delude themselves into believing they are exhibiting strength, but what they are truly revealing is a profound lack of self-control, a clear indication that their emotions are in fact dictating their actions. And when your emotions are in the driver's seat, your true power is effectively surrendered. Silence, on the other hand, is an inherently disarming force. It is unsettling, even unnerving, to those who are accustomed to immediate, emotional reactions. When people expect an outburst, a defense, or a counterattack, and you respond with nothing but calm stillness, they are often rendered bewildered and unsure how to proceed. They may attempt to provoke further, to push your buttons, But if you remain unmoving, steady, and unperturbed, suddenly the spotlight shifts. Their aggression, their desperate need for a reaction, begins to look foolish, revealing their own insecurity, not yours. Why? Because your silence eloquently communicates that their words, their provocations, did not penetrate your inner calm. You have demonstrably shown that you are in profound control, not just of the situation, but of yourself. Let us be unequivocally clear. This strategic use of silence does not equate to weakness. It does not imply passive acceptance of mistreatment or an invitation for people to walk all over you. Rather, it signifies a conscious and deliberate choice to select your responses with meticulous care. It means you resolutely refuse to squander your precious energy on trivial battles or meaningless arguments. When you consciously choose to respond with measured silence, rather than raw, impulsive emotion, you gift yourself invaluable time to think, to analyze, to evaluate whether the situation genuinely warrants your precious attention and energy. Imagine the scenario where someone attempts to provoke you in a public setting. Perhaps they make an insulting remark or challenge your authority, fully expecting you to retaliate emotionally. Most individuals would instinctively take the bait. But if you maintain your composure, if you meet their gaze with a calm, steady demeanor, and then simply choose silence, the dynamic in the room fundamentally shifts. They are left hanging, their attack neutralized, and the attention often redirects to their own inappropriate behavior. You have, by your quiet composure, demonstrated that their words hold no sway over your inner state. You are the captain for your own emotional ship. There is another, deeper layer to this mastery of silence. Not only does it protect and preserve your personal power, but it also imbues your words with significantly greater impact and authority when you ultimately choose to speak. If you spoke sparingly, but always with calm, deliberate authority, people instinctively listen more intently. They learn that you do not waste words, that your pronouncements are carefully considered. They understand that if you are speaking, it carries genuine weight and significance. This is the cadence of true leaders. This is how genuinely confident individuals carry themselves. So, how does one cultivate this powerful discipline? Begin by meticulously observing your own triggers. Pay acute attention to those specific moments when you feel your emotions beginning to boil, when anger, defensiveness, or anxiety threaten to overwhelm your composure, when someone criticizes you, disagrees with you, or attempts to mock you. That is the precise moment to pause. Do not rush to react. Take a conscious, deep breath. Allow the pregnant pause, the strategic silence, to do the profound work for you. 9 times out of 10, you will realize, often with a sense of relief, that no immediate response was even necessary. And in the rare instances where a response is warranted, it will emerge from a place of considered strength and clarity, not from impulsive, reactive emotion. You do not owe everyone a reaction. You do not need to embark on a desperate defense every time someone questions your actions or choices. You are not obligated to fight every minor battle that presents itself. Sometimes the most powerful and courageous action you can take is to do nothing at all. Silence is not an empty void. It is a repository of immense power. Reflect on how this shift fundamentally alters how people perceive you. The individual who consistently reacts emotionally is predictable, easily manipulated, and often seen as lacking internal fortitude. But the person who possesses the profound ability to remain silent, calm, and unbothered in the face of provocation, that person is truly dangerous. You cannot easily push them around. You cannot effortlessly get under their skin. You cannot disrupt their focus or break their resolve. Dangerous confidence is not about attempting to shout louder than others. It is about standing tall and steady while others clamor and shout, and you, unmoved, do not budge. It is about deliberately choosing silence when everyone around you anticipates a storm of reaction. It is about unequivocally demonstrating that your emotions belong solely to you and not to anyone else's agenda or influence. The next time someone attempts to ensnare you in their drama, to pull you into an emotional vortex, remember this fundamental truth: silence is your most potent shield. Silence is an undeniable manifestation of your strength, and silence, when wielded with intention, is your ultimate power. Utilize it, and you will uncover an inner unshakability that will astound you. Chapter 6. Let your body speak first. Before you ever utter a single syllable, before any carefully chosen words leave your lips, your body is already engaged in a profound and eloquent conversation with the world. People are constantly observing how you walk, how you stand, how you sit, the way you hold your head, the intensity of your gaze. And in a mere fraction of a second, often within the first few moments of encounter, they have already formed an initial, often subconscious opinion of you, long before you have had the chance to speak a single word. This silent language is the potent, unspoken grammar of confidence, and more often than not, it speaks far louder and more convincingly than anything you could ever articulate. Here is a crucial insight. If your verbal declarations and your physical body language are incongruent, people will invariably, and almost instinctively, believe your body. You can vocally assert, "I am a confident individual," but if your shoulders are hunched, your gaze avoids direct eye contact, and your hands are nervously fidgeting, no one will genuinely buy your words. The message of insecurity transmitted by your physicality will overpower any verbal affirmation. Conversely, you could speak very little, but if your posture is upright and strong, your eyes are steady and engaged, and your movements are calm and purposeful, people will unequivocally feel your presence and perceive your inherent confidence. So, what exactly does it mean to consciously let your body speak first? It means cultivating the ability to enter any room if you intrinsically belong there, not with arrogance, but with a quiet, undeniable certainty. It means adopting a posture that is tall and open, shoulders gently back, chest expanded, head held high. This is not a performative display of bravado, but an embodiment of inner self-possession. It means your handshake is firm and deliberate, not a rushed or limp offering. It means you maintain steady eye contact, without flinching, without darting away, and without any subconscious apology for daring to be seen. Reflect upon the individuals you naturally gravitate towards and respect. When they enter a space, they rarely feel the need to loudly announce their arrival. They do not typically engage in overt attempts to prove their worth. Their very presence communicates volumes. This is not merely an accident of personality. It is the masterful deployment of body language. Furthermore, your body is in a constant feedback loop with your mind. If you habitually adopt a physically small, contracted posture, your mind receives the consistent message, "I'm small, I should feel small." If you carry yourself as if you are attempting to hide or disappear, your mind begins to internalize the belief that you should be hiding. However, if you consciously choose to sit upright, to expand your posture, to move with deliberate purpose and intention, your mind begins to receive a profoundly different message. "I'm strong, I'm steady, I am present, I belong here." The mind and body are inextricably linked, and if your objective is to cultivate unwavering confidence, sometimes the fastest and most effective route to shifting your internal mental state is to intentionally shift your external physical state first. This is not about acting or creating a false persona. This is about systematically identifying and eliminating the subtle physical signals that inadvertently sabotage your confidence. It is about consciously shedding the habits that communicate uncertainty or apprehension, the perpetually hunched shoulders, the nervous fidgeting, the eyes that dart around restlessly. These seemingly minor habits transmit silent but powerful messages that you may not even consciously notice, but which others intuitively pick up on with remarkable speed. And once you systematically eliminate these self-sabotaging signals, you will naturally begin to carry yourself with a newfound sense of power. Here are a couple of practical, actionable tips to integrate immediately. The next time you are about to enter a room or a new environment, pause momentarily at the doorway. Take one calm, deliberate breath. Consciously straighten your posture. Gently roll your shoulders back and down, and slightly lift your head. Then, walk in at a steady, unhurried pace. No frantic rushing, no desperate hurry, just pure, grounded presence. This singular, subtle adjustment will fundamentally alter how people perceive you, and perhaps even more importantly, how you begin to perceive yourself. Another critical practice is cultivating steady eye contact. This is not about staring aggressively or creepily, but rather maintaining a calm, sustained gaze that communicates, "I see you, and I am entirely comfortable with being seen." The majority of individuals tend to break eye contact prematurely due to underlying feelings of insecurity or discomfort. Train yourself to hold that gaze for just a second or two longer than feels comfortable. That extra second, though seemingly minor, communicates a profound level of confidence without the need for a single word. When your body speaks confidence before your mouth ever opens, you eliminate the need to overtly sell yourself. You do not have to push too hard to be noticed or to earn respect. People simply feel it, and here is the quiet secret. When they feel that radiating presence, they invariably treat you differently. They lean in closer when you speak. They respect your personal space more profoundly. They lend greater credence and trust to your words. Dangerous confidence is not about attempting to shout louder than anyone else in the room. It is about entering a space with such an undeniable, quiet certainty that people cannot possibly ignore you, even if you never raise your voice above a murmur. Your body tells the compelling story of your inner state long before your mouth ever does, so consciously let your body speak first. Train it, deliberately, to transmit the correct and powerful message. Walk tall, sit steady, look people directly in the eye, move through the world with conscious intention. Because when your body effortlessly communicates strength, your carefully chosen words merely serve to confirm what people have already intuitively sensed and believed, that you are someone of substance, someone genuinely worth listening to. Chapter 7. Stop reacting. Start leading. Most individuals, unknowingly, navigate their entire lives in a perpetual state of reaction. Something external occurs, and they instinctively respond. A critical word is uttered, and they rush to defend themselves. An act of disrespect happens, and they immediately snap back. A compliment is given, and their mood instantly elevates. They are, in essence, constantly at the mercy of whatever unpredictable currents come their way. This, dear listener, is not the manifestation FICO. This is dependency, an emotional and psychological reliance on external stimuli to dictate one's internal state. And as long as you remain in this reactive mode, you are, by definition, not leading your own life. You are merely following the whims of circumstance. Consider the inherent dynamic. The person who is always reacting is perpetually one step behind. They allow the world, its events, its people, its opinions, to unilaterally dictate their mood, drain their energy, and ultimately shape their choices. Their life becomes a series of responses to what happens to them. Conversely, the person who leads, whether formally or informally, is the one who sets the tone. They consciously decide the direction. They do not passively wait to see what unfolds before they act. Rather, they proactively create what happens. That is the fundamental, often overlooked distinction between living as a passive follower circumstance and actively living as the empowered leader of your own destiny. Here is a hard, unvarnished truth. When you consistently react to everything, you inadvertently teach people precisely how to control you. They learn which buttons to push, and you, predictably, respond right on cue. They become adept at identifying which words will provoke your anger, which actions will elicit your defensiveness, or which silences will trigger your insecurity. They gain a subtle, yet potent, leverage of you. But when you consciously choose to disengage from this reactive pattern, when you purposefully maintain your calm and steady composure, those same individuals abruptly lose their grip. Their manipulative tactics become impotent. They can no longer effortlessly control your emotional state or steer your actions. It is precisely at this juncture that your confidence begins to take on a truly dangerous quality, because you become, in essence, untouchable by their machinations. Leading, in this context, does not always imply leading others in a formal sense. Its most crucial and foundational application begins with leading yourself. It signifies the conscious act of choosing your actions rather than allowing them to be reflexively chosen for you by external events or emotional impulses. It means setting your own internal pace rather than constantly striving to keep up with someone else's frantic rhythm. It involves regularly asking yourself, what positive outcome do I want to proactively create here, instead of merely, how should I react to what just happened? Let us ground this in practical scenarios. Imagine you are participating in a critical meeting, and a colleague vociferously challenges your carefully presented idea. The reactive person, driven by a fear of appearing wrong or inadequate, immediately launches into a defensive explanation, sometimes even tinged with anger. The leader, however, pauses. They listen intently, allowing the challenge to land without immediate emotional response. Then calmly, they respond with measured clarity, or perhaps with an even greater display of confidence. They choose not to directly engage in the personal attack, but instead to gracefully redirect the conversation back to the overarching objectives or the bigger picture. That single conscious choice irrevocably alters the entire energy and trajectory of the room. Consider this principle in the realm of personal relationships. When you exist primarily in a reactive state, you are constantly adjusting your emotional thermostat to match someone else's fluctuating moods. If they are upset, you feel compelled to be upset. If they are happy, you feel obliged to mirror their happiness. Your emotional landscape becomes a mere reflection of theirs. But when you actively choose to lead, you proactively establish and maintain your own emotional tone. You remain steady, grounded, and unperturbed, regardless of their emotional swings. And more often than not, they will begin to gravitate towards and mirror your calm, rather than you being swept away by their chaos. Leadership, in its most profound sense, is not about exerting control over others. It is fundamentally about achieving such a complete and unwavering control over yourself that your inner equilibrium subtly, yet powerfully, influences everything within your sphere. People are instinctively drawn to and naturally follow those who exhibit steadfastness, clarity, and an inability to be tossed around by every passing wave of circumstance. And crucially, you do not require a formal title, a prominent position, or a spotlight to embody this kind of person. You simply require unwavering discipline over your own internal world. So, how does one initiate this transformative shift from a life of reaction to a life of conscious leadership? Begin by cultivating the habit of slowing down. Do not relinquish the driver's seat to your raw, unfiltered emotions. Before you utter a word or make a move, pause. Ask yourself, what specific outcome do I genuinely desire in this situation? And what is the most effective way for me to proactively create that outcome? That mere 1-second pause, that deliberate moment of introspection, possesses the power to completely recalibrate your direction and your response. Next, cultivate the practice of setting clear intentions before you even enter challenging situations. If you anticipate walking into a potentially stressful environment, make a conscious decision in advance. I will remain calm. I will articulate my thoughts clearly. I will not allow anyone or anything to push me off my emotional balance. When you enter a situation armed with that predetermined mindset, you actively lead the situation from the outset, rather than passively reacting to it as it unfolds. And finally, internalize this vital truth. True leadership is not about desperately proving yourself to others. It is at its core about profoundly owning yourself, your values, your convictions, your emotional state. You are not obligated to win every single argument. You do not need to meticulously control every minute detail of every scenario. You simply need to exert profound control over you. That calm, centered, unwavering self-control is profoundly magnetic. People will feel it, often unconsciously. They will begin to look to you for guidance and stability without you ever explicitly asking for it. Dangerous confidence is born precisely when you cease relinquishing your power to external forces, when you stop reacting instinctively to everything and consciously begin leading with profound intention. You effortlessly rise above the incessant noise. You stop playing defense in the game of life and begin, instead, to direct the game itself. And once you make that profound and irreversible shift, you are no longer at the mercy of life's whims. In a powerful, liberating sense, life begins to respond to you. Chapter 8. Embrace discomfort until it feels normal. Confidence, in its truest and most enduring form, is not cultivated within the cozy confines of comfort. Rather, it is meticulously forged in the crucible of uncomfortable places, those very territories that most people instinctively seek to avoid. Reflect for a moment on the times in your life when you genuinely felt yourself growing stronger, more resilient. These moments were almost certainly not the easy ones. They were the instances where you experienced a gnawing nervousness, felt profoundly unprepared, perhaps even a visceral fear. But nonetheless, you took that terrifying step forward. That, precisely, is where authentic growth resides. That is the fertile ground where dangerous confidence is unequivocally born. Majority of individuals dedicate their lives to constructing elaborate strategies to flee from discomfort. They consistently opt for what feels safe, what is intimately familiar, what requires minimal stretching of their existing capabilities. But the inherent flaw in this pervasive approach is starkly simple. If you perpetually choose comfort, you will never truly expand. You will remain stagnant. You will effectively play small, operating far below your potential, and deep within your subconscious, you inherently recognize this truth. This is precisely why so many people harbor a secret wellspring of insecurity, because their lives, while perhaps comfortable, lack the tangible evidence of their own untapped strength and resilience. Confidence is not merely about reciting affirmations of strength to yourself. It is fundamentally about deliberately placing yourself in situations that unequivocally demonstrate to you that you are, indeed, strong. When you consciously choose to embrace discomfort, you systematically begin to collect irrefutable evidence of your capabilities. Every single time you venture into the unknown, every instance you attempt something that evokes even a slight tremor of fear, you emerge on the other side, armed with concrete proof. I can handle this. I am capable. And the more abundant this internal collection of proof becomes, the more unshakable, the more dangerously confident you become. Herein lies a profound secret. Discomfort is not a temporary state that eventually vanishes. You will never arrive at a destination where life magically ceases to present you with tests or challenges. However, what you can do, with deliberate practice, is train yourself to become profoundly comfortable being uncomfortable. That is the transformative shift. Instead of reflexively perceiving discomfort as an imminent danger, you begin to consciously reframe it as an invaluable training regimen. Instead of instinctively recoiling from it, you lean into its pressure, and, remarkably quickly, what once filled you with dread or apprehension begins to feel profoundly normal, even familiar. Consider the very first time you attempted something entirely new, perhaps delivering a presentation in front of an audience, embarking on a complex new project, or walking into a room teeming with unfamiliar faces. You likely experienced a potent cocktail of nervousness, perhaps even physical shakiness. But if you persisted, if you repeatedly exposed yourself to that situation, the initial fear gradually began to dissipate. It became progressively easier. Why? Because consistent repetition possesses the power to literally rewire the neural pathways in your brain. What once felt utterly impossible or paralyzing transforms into a manageable routine. That precisely is the profound power inherent in embracing discomfort. So, how does one initiate this powerful practice? Begin with deliberate, small steps. Gently nudge yourself into situations that stretch you just marginally beyond your current comfort zone. Perhaps speak up in a meeting when your usual inclination is to remain silently observant. Initiate a conversation with a stranger when your default behavior is to avoid it. Accept a small challenge that you would typically politely decline. Every one of these minor pushes incrementally builds your internal capacity for resilience. Then progressively escalate to larger challenges. Consciously pursue goals that genuinely intimidate you, not out of a desire for potential failure, but because you understand they will inevitably force you to grow into a more formidable version of yourself. The principle is beautifully illustrated in the realm of physical training, particularly in the gym. If you exclusively lift weights that are effortlessly easy, your muscles will never hypertrophy, will never truly grow stronger. True muscular growth, the kind that reshapes your physical being, occurs when you select a heavy weight, when your body trembles under the strain, when you feel the burn and the profound effort. Life operates on the exact same principle. Your mental and emotional muscles, your fortitude, your resilience, your problem-solving capacity only expand and strengthen when subjected to judicious resistance. And here is the most beautiful and liberating aspect of this approach. The more consistently and deliberately you embrace discomfort, the more profoundly resilient you become across all domains of your life. You cease to be paralyzed by the fear of failure, primarily because you have faced it before and emerged intact. You stop reflexively avoiding challenges, armed with the irrefutable evidence that you have previously risen through them. You stop doubting your own intrinsic capabilities, fortified by the lived experience that you can not only survive what others deem insurmountable, but also thrive within it. That fundamentally is the taproot of enduring confidence, not hollow words or fleeting affirmations, but hard-earned, undeniable lived experience. So, the next time that familiar tendril of fear or apprehension begins to creep into your awareness, pause. Take a moment to consciously reframe it. Instead of the instinctive lament, "I desperately do not want to feel this uncomfortable sensation," deliberately tell yourself, "This, precisely this moment, is where I become unequivocally stronger." That simple yet profound shift in internal narrative changes everything. Suddenly, discomfort is no longer a formidable enemy, avoided at all costs. It transforms into your most profound and invaluable teacher, guiding you toward greater self-mastery. Dangerous confidence is not predicated upon living a perpetually easy, challenge-free existence. On the contrary, it is forged by embracing a life that consistently stretches you, that relentlessly compels you to grow, that perpetually reminds you of the immense, untapped power residing within your own being. Embrace discomfort, actively seek it out, deliberately choose to live within its expansive boundaries until it not only feels normal, but becomes an integral, welcome part of your growth journey. Because once you achieve that, nothing the world can possibly throw at you will ever feel too big, too overwhelming, or too insurmountable. You will have meticulously trained yourself to thrive precisely where others invariably retreat. And that, in its most profound manifestation, is when people begin to truly perceive that quiet, steady, indomitable power emanating from within you, the kind of confidence that, once built, absolutely cannot be broken. Chapter 9. Speak less, command more. Have you ever observed the intriguing phenomenon of the most influential and powerful individuals in a room, often being the quietest? They rarely rush to fill every available silence with their pronouncements. They do not attempt to dominate conversations through an endless torrent of words. Instead, they exhibit a masterful patience. They wait, they listen, truly listen, with an active and discerning ear. And then, when they finally choose to articulate their thoughts, a palpable shift occurs. Everyone instinctively leans in, their attention fully captured, eager to absorb every syllable. This, my friend, is not merely happenstance or a quirk of personality. This is the deliberate and highly effective deployment of dangerous confidence. The common tendency for most people to talk excessively stems, ironically, from a deep-seated discomfort with silence. They harbor an unconscious fear that if they cease speaking, they will lose attention, or, even worse, they will be utterly forgotten or deemed irrelevant. Consequently, they often pile on words, explanations, anecdotes, and elaborate justifications, all in a subconscious attempt to convince others of their inherent worth or intelligence. But here is the stark reality of communication dynamics. The more you speak without a clear, conscious purpose, the more dilute and, paradoxically, the weaker your words become. Confidence, particularly the dangerous and impactful kind we are discussing, is not measured by the sheer quantity of words you utter. It is profoundly measured by the intrinsic weight, authority, and impact your words carry. And the most effective way to imbue your words with that undeniable gravitas is deceptively simple. Speak less and mean more. Every sentence you construct should be imbued with conscious intention. Every response you offer should emanate from a place of calm, measured consideration. Every deliberate pause you interject should subtly, yet powerfully, remind people that you are not rushed, not desperate for attention, and certainly not trying too hard to impress. Consider this psychological effect. When an individual speaks incessantly, often without allowing for much input from others, people, over time, tend to mentally tune them out. Their words become background noise, losing their impact. But when an individual consistently holds back, speaking only when their contribution genuinely matters, Only when they have something substantive to convey, people pay rapt attention. Silence, when skillfully employed, builds anticipation. Few, precisely chosen words, delivered with calm clarity, meticulously, build authority. This is why true leaders, individuals who inspire and guide, are rarely the incessant chatterboxes. They conserve their mental and emotional energy, choosing to deploy their words with the precision and impact of a sharp, well-honed blade, precise, direct, and remarkably effective. So, how can you begin to practice this powerful principle in your daily interactions? First and foremost, cultivate the habit of slowing down your communication. Resist the impulsive urge to immediately answer every question or jump into every conversational void. Grant yourself a deliberate moment of internal processing. That brief pause on its own communicates a remarkable degree of confidence. It signals that you are not frantically scrambling for approval or validation. Rather, you are thoughtfully choosing your response. Second, ruthlessly trim the excess from your verbal output. Instead of lengthy, meandering explanations, opt for simple, strong, and unequivocal statements. Yes, no, that works for me. I had decided to pursue different direction. Short, crystal clear, and firm responses command respect. Here is another profound secret. Active, engaged listening confers far more power than incessant speaking. Most people, when ostensibly listening, are merely waiting for their turn to speak, formulating their reply, rather than truly absorbing what the other person is conveying. Confident individuals, however, listen with the genuine intent to understand. When you genuinely and deeply hear someone, you gather invaluable information. You begin to comprehend their underlying motives, their unspoken fears, their inherent strengths, and their true intentions. And when you finally choose to respond, your words will be significantly sharper, more poignant, and more effective, precisely because they are rooted in profound understanding. This practice alone will make you stand out instantly in any interaction. Think back to conversations you have endured with individuals who barely allowed you to complete a sentence. Did it not feel as though they were desperately trying too hard, perhaps out of their own insecurity? Now, contrast that with an interaction with someone who met your gaze, listened attentively without interruption, and then offered a concise, yet deeply meaningful response. Each individual conveyed a greater sense of power and self-possession. Invariably, it is the latter, because active listening is a powerful demonstration of internal control, and control, above all else, commands profound respect. Of course, this principle does not advocate for becoming entirely silent or withholding your voice completely. Dangerous confidence is not about absolute vocal suppression. It is about striking a masterful balance. Speak when your contribution is genuinely valuable and impactful. Remain quiet when it is not. Consciously transform silence from an uncomfortable void into a powerful, strategic ally. There is an additional layer to this strategy. When you consciously choose to speak less, you create an invaluable space for others to reveal themselves. In their rush to fill silence or to articulate their own positions, people frequently expose their insecurities, their underlying weaknesses, or their true intentions. Meanwhile, you, the master of strategic silence, remain calm, observant, and profoundly in control of the interaction. This is a critical advantage that most people consistently miss, precisely because they are too preoccupied with their own desperate need to be heard. So, here is your challenge for the coming days. Practice deliberately cutting your words in half. When you feel the urge to explain yourself unnecessarily, consciously shorten your response. When you are tempted to fill an awkward silence, purposefully hold that silence, allowing it to hang in the air. When you feel the impulse to prove something with a barrage of words, pause, stop, and instead, allow your powerful presence to do the talking for you. You will begin to observe a profound transformation. People will start leaning in, paying closer attention to your contributions. They will actively seek out your opinion, rather than inadvertently overlooking it. They will attribute greater weight and respect to your words, because you no longer throw them around carelessly. And most importantly, you will experience a deeper, more profound sense of internal control, because you will no longer be speaking from a place of insecurity or desperation, but rather from a place of deliberate, confident choice. Dangerous confidence does not shout. It does not ramble aimlessly. It does not beg for attention or desperately seek to be heard. It speaks less, but undeniably commands more. And once you have mastered this subtle yet potent art, you will uncover that silence, when strategically combined with precisely the right words, delivered at precisely the right time, is one of the most powerful and transformative tools you will ever possess. Chapter 10. Turn rejection into power. Rejection. Just the mere utterance of the word evokes a visceral sense of discomfort in most people. No one inherently enjoys hearing no. Nobody relishes the experience of being turned down, overlooked, or decisively pushed aside. But here lies one of the most profound and counterintuitive truths about building an unshakable inner core. Rejection is, in fact, one of the most powerful and transformative tools available for forging dangerous confidence, provided you learn the art of leveraging it effectively. The fundamental divergence between individuals who crumble under the weight of rejection and those who consistently rise stronger from its embrace is a matter of simple yet profound perspective. The majority of people internalize rejection. They hear a no and immediately translate it into a damning indictment of their personal worth. I am not good enough. I will never achieve my goals. I might as well abandon this endeavor. They allow rejection to fuse with their identity, transforming it into a personal failure, rather than perceiving it for what it truly is: valuable feedback, a necessary redirection, a rigorous test designed to temper their spirit and make them stronger, not diminish them. Consider this historical panorama. Some of the most successful, most confident, and most impactful figures in human history faced an incessant torrent of rejection, time and time again. J.K. Rowling's manuscript, or Harry Potter, was famously rejected by a dozen publishers before finding its home. Walt Disney was fired from a newspaper for lacking imagination. Thomas Edison endured thousands of failed attempts before perfecting the light bulb. Michael Jordan was cut from his high school basketball team. Those rejections did not serve as their undoing. They were, in fact, the very crucibles that forged their resilience. They toughened their skin, compelled them to sharpen their skills, and fiercely fueled their unyielding drive. That is the critical paradigm shift you must internalize. Rejection is not the terminal end of your path. It is the sharpening stone upon which your confidence is honed. Every no you encounter, every closed door, every setback is a profound opportunity to cultivate greater resilience, to ignite a deeper determination, and to become, in your unwavering certainty, more dangerous. The essential shift you need to make is to stop asking, "Why is this happening to me?" and instead adopt the empowering question, "What invaluable lesson or insight can I extract from this experience?" Did this rejection unearth a weakness in your approach or skill set that requires deliberate cultivation? Did it, perhaps, force you to explore an entirely novel or more effective strategy? Did it expose individuals or environments that were, in retrospect, never truly aligned with your authentic self in the first place? Every single act of rejection, no matter how painful in the moment, carries a profound lesson, provided you are willing to listen with an open and discerning mind. Let us be candid. Rejection stings precisely because it pricks at our pride, our ego. It makes us feel vulnerable, exposed, and sometimes inadequate. But that very sting, that uncomfortable jolt, is precisely what imbues it with its transformative power. It serves as a potent wake-up call, a necessary impetus to toughen your resolve. You simply cannot construct true, robust confidence in a sheltered world where every door is always open and every request is met with an immediate yes. Such an environment would only cultivate a fragile, brittle confidence, the kind that shatters irrevocably the very first time life dares to tell you no. Dangerous confidence, the kind we are exploring here, is forged in the fires of being rejected, profoundly, repeatedly, and yet still standing tall, unbowed, and unbroken. So, how do you actively convert the pain of rejection into a powerful catalyst for growth? First, do not recoil from it. Actively anticipate it. Welcome it. Understand, with unwavering clarity, that rejection is often irrefutable proof that you are pushing your boundaries, that you are stretching beyond your comfortable limits. If you are never encountering a no, it signifies that you are likely not aiming high enough, not risking enough, not deliberately positioning yourself in the growth zones where true transformation occurs. Second, meticulously detach rejection from your inherent worth. A no to your idea, your proposal, your request, or your effort is emphatically not a no to your intrinsic value as a human being. It is simply information, a data point, nothing more. Learn to rigorously separate the event of rejection from your personal identity, and rejection will immediately lose its capacity to crush your spirit. Third, harness rejection as potent fuel. Allow it to ignite a fervent fire beneath your ambition. Let it compel you to prove, not to those who rejected you, but to yourself, that you are capable of far more than anyone, including your past self, ever imagined. Envision every rejection as an additional weight plate added to the barbell in your mental gym. Each lift, each act of persistence in the face of a no, makes you unequivocally stronger, provided you keep lifting. Here is a powerful mindset you can adopt and carry with you. Every no you receive systematically brings you closer to the right yes. Every door that definitively closes forces you, often unwillingly but ultimately beneficially, to actively seek and discover a better, more aligned door. Every person who turns you down creates the necessary space for the individuals who will genuinely see, appreciate, and value your unique contribution. Rejection, when reframed, is not an obstacle. It is a meticulous clearing of the path for what is truly meant for you. But this liberating truth only manifests if you persistently keep walking forward. Dangerous confidence is not built by diligently avoiding rejection. It is forged hard-won by facing it head-on, time and time again, until the word no longer possesses the power to instill fear within you. It is built until you arrive at the profound realization that rejection does not diminish you, it meticulously refines you. So, the next time you hear that unwelcome no, do not shrink. Do not retreat into the shadows of self-doubt. Instead, stand taller, look the experience squarely in the eye, and tell yourself, with unwavering conviction, good. This is my precise opportunity to grow. This is irrefutable proof that I am actively in the arena, not passively sitting on the sidelines. And then, critically, keep moving forward. because the individual who is no longer afraid of rejection is, in the truest sense, unstoppable, and that formidable person, dear listener, can absolutely be you. Chapter 11. Detach from outcomes. One of the most profound and liberating strategic moves you will ever make in your life is cultivating the radical discipline of learning to let go of the outcome. The vast majority of people, unconsciously or consciously, inextricably tie their entire sense of self-worth to results. If their endeavors yield positive outcomes, they experience a temporary surge of feeling good about themselves. Conversely, if things unravel or fall short of expectations, they feel profoundly broken, their internal world in disarray. Their emotions, therefore, oscillate wildly, rising and falling like a precarious roller coaster, precisely because their internal state is so heavily attached to what happens next, to the capricious whims of external circumstances. But true confidence, the kind we call dangerous confidence, emerges when you learn to fundamentally detach from specific outcomes and instead anchor your sense of self-worth and peace in who you inherently are, rather than what externally happens. Think for a moment about the countless times you have held yourself back from taking a meaningful action purely because you were gripped by the fear that it might not work out precisely as you envisioned. You refrained from applying for that dream job because the specter of rejection loomed large. You bit your tongue and failed to speak your truth because you were consumed by anxiety about how people might react to your honest opinion. You cautiously avoided taking a necessary risk because you were utterly obsessed with the paralyzing possibility of failure. This, in its essence, is the destructive force of attachment to outcomes. It keeps you perpetually paralyzed, rendered immobile, your potential controlled by an overwhelming fear of what might or might not manifest. But when you truly, profoundly detach from these outcomes, something transformative happens. You cease obsessing about whether people will like your work, accept your proposal, or applaud your efforts. Instead, you commit to giving your absolute best effort, pouring your energy into the process, and then, with a profound sense of liberation, you release the results, allowing them to unfold as they may. That, my friend, is where true freedom resides. That is where you unlock a level of unwavering confidence that most people, tragically, will never experience. Detachment, in this context, does not equate to apathy or a lack of care. It certainly does not mean you stop striving for excellence or cease putting in the effort. What it does mean is that you consciously sever the chain that links your identity, your core self, to the specific result of your actions. You diligently focus your energy and attention on the elements you can control: your effort, your attitude, your meticulous preparation, your consistent discipline. And then, with an act of profound self-trust, you release the rest. The outcome, whatever it may be, becomes valuable feedback, a data point for learning and adjustment, but never, ever, your ultimate definition. Consider the focused athlete who dedicates months, even years, to rigorous training. They know with absolute certainty that they cannot control every variable on game day, the eccentricities of the referee, the unpredictable shifts in weather, the unforeseen performance of their opponent. All they possess the power to control is their level of preparedness, the intensity of effort they bring, and their unwavering mental focus. That, precisely, is the embodiment of detachment. They give every fiber of their being, but their self-worth is not utterly destroyed if the scoreboard does not ultimately go their way. They internalize the lessons and live to fight, to compete, to improve another day. When you master the art of detaching from outcomes, you simultaneously become far more resilient to manipulation. People can no longer dangle tantalizing rewards in front of you to control your actions, or subtly threaten you with loss to induce desperation. You become intrinsically free because you have already made the profound internal decision. Your inherent value is not contingent upon winning or losing, gaining or losing, being lavishly praised or harshly rejected. Here is a powerful, often overlooked truth. The more tightly you cling to a specific outcome, the weaker and more vulnerable you paradoxically become. The more you need something to happen in a particular, predetermined way, the more anxious, insecure, and easily agitated you will inevitably become. But the moment you authentically let go, the moment you can declare, with genuine conviction, whatever happens, I will adapt, I will learn, and I will be fundamentally okay, you gain an enormous surge of inner strength. You begin to act with a profound sense of calm, with laser-like focus, and with an unshakable certainty. And, ironically, it is often precisely in this state of detached effort that you perform at your absolute peak, precisely because you are no longer strangled by the paralyzing fear of the result. So, how do you cultivate this liberating practice? Start by deliberately shifting your internal and external language. Instead of the desperate declaration, I have to win this, try reframing it as, I will give my absolute best effort, and whatever unfolds, I will learn invaluable lessons from it. Instead of, I need them to like me, pivot to, I will show up authentically as myself, and the right people will inevitably resonate with and respect that. Small, consistent shifts in language profoundly rewire your mind, consistently reinforcing the message that your core value is not, and never will be, tethered to the outcome. Next, consciously prioritize process over result. Build meticulous habits, establish consistent routines, and adhere to unwavering standards that are entirely within your sphere of control. If you seek confidence in your professional life, do not obsess solely about the final product. Instead, focus diligently on the consistent execution of the work itself. If you desire confidence in your relationships, do not fixate on how others respond to you. Instead, concentrate on consistently showing up with authenticity, honesty, and integrity. When you construct your confidence upon the solid foundation of process mastery, specific outcomes naturally become secondary, losing their power to dictate your emotional state. And finally, constantly remind yourself of this undeniable truth. You have, without exception, survived every single bad outcome in your life thus far. Every failure, every disappointment, every sting of rejection, you are still here, standing, stronger, wiser, and sharper for having navigated those storms. That, in itself, is irrefutable proof that you do not require perfect, flawless results to be okay. You simply require resilience, adaptability, and an unwavering belief in your capacity to endure and grow. Dangerous confidence does not originate from attempting to control or guarantee outcomes. It springs forth from completely controlling yourself and trusting, with profound conviction, that whatever the result, you will adapt, you will grow, and you will perpetually keep moving forward. So, release that tight grip, give your absolute best, remain true to your authentic self, and then, with a profound sense of liberation, let the outcome go. Because the moment you truly detach from the need for specific results, you step into an entirely new dimension of freedom, the kind of unshakable confidence that nothing and no one can truly diminish. Chapter 12. Set boundaries without apology. Confidence is not solely about how you project yourself in the public arena. It is equally, and perhaps even more fundamentally, about how rigorously and consistently You protect yourself in the private spaces of your life. One of the clearest, most undeniable markers of true, deep confidence is the unwavering ability to establish clear, non-negotiable boundaries and then to uphold them without a flicker of apology, without a trace of guilt, and without the slightest flinching in the face of pushback. Boundaries are not punitive walls designed to keep people out. Rather, they are vital, protective lines that safeguard your most precious resources, your time, your energy, and your self-respect. And here is an inconvenient truth. If you fail to consciously and consistently set these boundaries, the world, with its endless demands and diverse intentions, will, without malice, but with absolute certainty, gladly run right over you. Consider the stark reality of human interaction. People will, almost without exception, take as much as you willingly allow them to. If you offer unlimited access to your time, they will consume it. If you permit them to interrupt you repeatedly, they will continue to do so. If you habitually fail to say no, they will perpetually expect a yes, turning your acquiescence into their default expectation. This is not necessarily because people are inherently cruel or exploitative. It is simply because human nature, in its pursuit of ease and gratification, naturally pushes against perceived limits. And if you consistently fail to establish those limits, you will inevitably find yourself feeling drained, resentful, and utterly powerless. Genuine confidence signifies that you inherently know your value, and when you possess that deep, intrinsic understanding of your worth, you instinctively protect it. You do not carelessly squander your precious time on endeavors that hold no meaning for you. You do not permit toxic individuals to systematically drain your vital energy. You do not keep saying yes when your inner wisdom unequivocally whispers no. Saying no is not an act of selfishness. It is an act of profound self-strength. It serves as irrefutable proof that you respect yourself sufficiently to protect your own peace, your own priorities, and your own well-being. Reflect on how many times you have uttered a yes purely to circumvent conflict, to avoid disappointing someone, or to escape the discomfort of a potentially awkward conversation. Perhaps you reluctantly agreed to social plans you dreaded, took on additional work you simply could not realistically manage, or passively allowed someone to speak to you in a manner that diminished your spirit. Each instance of such acquiescence, each time you overrode your inner no, a small piece of your confidence incrementally eroded. Not primarily because of what they did, but fundamentally because of what you allowed. Confidence truly blossoms when you make a firm internal declaration. This is where I draw the line. This far and no further. And here is the absolute key to effective boundary setting. You do not need to justify your boundaries with elaborate explanations. All too often, people fall into the trap of over-explaining. They begin with, "I am so sorry. I cannot do that because," followed by a rambling litany of excuses or reasons. But the liberating truth is that no is, in fact, a complete sentence. Simple, direct statements like, "That does not work for me," "I am not available at that time," or "I have decided not to pursue that," are sufficient. Delivered calmly, firmly, and unapologetically, these responses project strength and clarity. Initially, the act of setting boundaries will feel profoundly uncomfortable. You will likely experience pangs of guilt. You will worry, perhaps intensely, that people will perceive you as cold, unkind, or difficult. But with consistent practice and the accumulation of these small acts of self-affirmation, you will arrive at a crucial realization. People, paradoxically, often respect you more when you possess clear boundaries. While they may not always like your boundary in the immediate moment, they will eventually learn to take you seriously. They will discern that you are not easily manipulated, that you are not desperate for fleeting approval, and that you are unwilling to barter your inner peace for temporary comfort or superficial acceptance. And here is an added invaluable bonus. The right people, those individuals who genuinely care about you, who respect you for who you truly are, will not only respect your boundaries, but will honor them. They will even come to admire your self-possession. It is consistently the wrong people, the ones who seek to take advantage, or who view your generosity as an endless resource, who will react with anger or frustration to your clearly defined limits. So, when someone responds negatively to your boundary, take it not as a sign of failure, but as an undeniable confirmation that the boundary was, in fact, absolutely necessary. Setting boundaries is not about alienating people or pushing them away. It is fundamentally about creating and protecting your sacred personal space and energy so that you can consciously and effectively pour your best self into the things that truly matter, your goals, your passions, your most cherished relationships. You simply cannot nourish your ambitions, pursue your dreams, or engage authentically in your core relationships if you are constantly depleted and drained from habitually saying yes to every other demand that comes your way. Boundaries are not selfish. They are an essential prerequisite for a life of purpose and integrity. So, how do you embark on this crucial practice? Begin by identifying one specific area of your life where you currently experience consistent resentment or depletion. That feeling of resentment is an unerring signal that a boundary is conspicuously absent or being routinely violated. Perhaps it is a colleague who persistently burdens you with extra work. Perhaps it is a friend who consistently takes more emotional energy than they give. Or perhaps it is your own internalized habit of habitually overcommitting. Wherever you detect that subtle tension, that is precisely where a boundary is most urgently needed. Decide with clarity where your line is drawn. Then, with calm and unwavering conviction, enforce it. Confidence is not about the exhausting pursuit of pleasing everyone. It is about living a life imbued with profound integrity to yourself. And integrity, at its core, means rigorously protecting what truly matters, even when others fail to comprehend or appreciate your choices. Dangerous confidence is when you can articulate a no, that your voice trembling. It is when you can steadfastly hold your ground without succumbing to debilitating guilt. It is when you can protect your vital energy as if it were the most invaluable resource you possess, because, unequivocally, it is. So, meticulously set your boundaries, hold them firm, and never, ever apologize for respecting yourself. Because once you master that profound discipline, you will discover that real, enduring confidence does not merely stem from what you willingly say yes to. It emanates with immense power from the things you steadfastly refuse to accept. Chapter 13. Stand calm in chaos. True confidence, the kind that anchors you and earns profound respect, is not genuinely tested when life is flowing smoothly. Anyone can appear composed when the plan is unfolding perfectly, when circumstances are favorable, and when no unexpected challenges arise. But the authentic measure of dangerous confidence, the true crucible of your inner strength, is revealed in how you carry yourself when chaos erupts. It is when the room fills with panic, when voices rise in alarm, when people lose their composure, and when everything around you seems utterly uncertain. That, precisely, is the moment when true confidence either collapses under pressure or shines forth with a brilliant, steady light. The common human response to chaos is to unravel. Most people, when faced with overwhelming uncertainty, tend to rush, to panic, to overreact. Their emotions seize control, bypassing rational thought, leading them to make hasty and often poor decisions, driven by a desperate urge to fix everything at once. But the individuals who consistently stand out, the ones who effortlessly earn respect without even consciously seeking it, are those rare souls who maintain their calm. They possess the counterintuitive wisdom to slow down when everyone else accelerates. They take deliberate breaths when everyone else holds theirs in anxious suspension. They maintain a steady, measured tone of voice when others are shouting in alarm. This remarkable calmness, this unwavering composure amidst pandemonium, is profoundly rare, and it is precisely what makes it so immensely powerful. Consider how you instinctively feel when you are in the presence of someone who remains utterly composed in genuinely stressful situations. You feel a profound sense of safety. You feel an implicit reassurance that, despite the current turmoil, things will, somehow, eventually be okay. Their calm, like a soothing balm, subtly transfers to you, influencing your own emotional state. That, in its essence, is the magnetic power of presence. And the profoundly good news is that this is not an innate, unchangeable trait. It is a skill that you can meticulously train yourself to cultivate and embody. The journey begins with a fundamental recognition. Chaos itself does not inherently break individuals. What breaks them is their reaction to chaos. The external event might be undeniably messy. The challenge might be undeniably tough. But it is your chosen response, your internal management of that external event, that ultimately determines whether you crumble under the pressure or rise above it with newfound strength. If you allow yourself to be passively swept up in the emotional vortex of the storm, you relinquish control. But if you consciously anchor yourself in a state of calm, you reclaim that vital control. So, how does one cultivate this powerful stillness amidst the storm? Begin with mastering your breath. When chaos strikes, your body's primal, natural instinct is to tense up, to constrict your breathing, and to prepare for a physiological fight-or-flight response. This is precisely the moment when you must consciously seize control of your breath. Engage in slow, steady, deep breathing. This deliberate act sends a powerful, reassuring signal to your body. I am not in imminent danger. I am in control. That single, small, conscious act creates an invaluable space, a vital buffer between the external chaos and your internal reaction. Next, consciously manage your pace. In high-stress situations, there is a pervasive human tendency to rush, as if sheer speed will magically resolve all problems. However, rushing frequently leads to missteps, errors, and an exacerbation of the very chaos you are trying to escape. The confident person, the leader, does not hurry. They move deliberately, with clarity and purpose. Their measured pace, their intentional movements, subtly communicate, I am steady, I am unhurried, I am not rattled. Then, crucially, maintain a low and calm voice. Chaos, by its very nature, feeds off noise and hysteria. If you respond to that noise by matching it with your own panic or shouting, you merely add fuel to the fire, escalating the frenzy. But if you deliberately choose to speak slower, softer, and with a more grounded tone, people instinctively listen. You immediately shift the energy of the entire situation. Even if you do not possess all the answers, your calm, steady tone reassures others, positioning you as a reliable and trustworthy anchor in the storm. Standing calm in chaos is not about pretending that nothing is wrong or adopting a naive optimism. It is about an unwavering refusal to allow the chaos to dictate your emotional state, to own your inner peace. It is about meticulously maintaining your psychological and emotional center when every external force attempts to pull you off balance. And when you consistently embody this discipline, people inevitably take notice. They perceive you as reliable, as strong, as a natural leader, even if you never explicitly sought that role. But here is the deeper, more profound truth. Cultivating calmness in chaos is not just a performance for others. It is first and foremost a gift to yourself. Because every single time you remain grounded, centered, and composed, when life throws its messiest challenges your way, you send an undeniable, self-reinforcing message to your own being. I possess immense strength. I am resilient. You provide irrefutable proof to yourself that storms do not break you. They reveal the incredible depths of your inner fortitude. And that profound, self-generated proof builds a dangerous confidence that endures far beyond the fleeting moment of crisis. So, the next time life inevitably throws chaos your way, and it will, pause, breathe, slow down your internal and external pace, anchor yourself in your core. Make a conscious decision in that moment that you will not be another panicked voice adding to the storm. You will, instead, be the calm, steady presence in the room. Because dangerous confidence does not scream in chaos. It does not run. It does not collapse. It stands tall, steady, and unflustered, no matter how deafening or turbulent the storm becomes. And when you master that profound discipline, nothing in this unpredictable world can truly, fundamentally shake you. Chapter 14. Train until skill becomes certainty. Confidence, the profound and dangerous kind, is not a mystical quality bestowed upon a lucky few. It does not magically appear out of thin air, nor is it merely a fleeting mindset or a positive affirmation, whispered half-heartedly into a mirror. Real, lasting, and potent confidence is meticulously constructed upon something far more tangible and bedrock solid: competence. When you possess the undeniable knowledge that you have diligently put in the requisite work, when you have rigorously trained yourself until a skill transcends conscious effort and becomes second nature, you cease hoping you are good enough. Instead, you know, with absolute certainty, that you are. That profound and irreversible shift from gnawing doubt to unshakable certainty is precisely where dangerous confidence truly takes root and blossoms. Reflect upon anything you have ever genuinely mastered, be it a grand, complex endeavor or a seemingly minor skill. Perhaps it was learning to drive a vehicle, mastering a challenging culinary dish, or delivering a compelling speech in front of a group. At the outset, we're likely nervous, filled with self-doubt, questioning your own capabilities. But the more you practiced, the more consistently you engaged with the task, the smoother and more natural it became. And one day, what once felt terrifying and insurmountable began to feel comfortable, even instinctive. That is the transformative power of diligent training and repetition. Repetition, when applied consistently and intentionally, systematically transmutes fear into profound familiarity. The common aspiration is to acquire confidence without investing in the necessary reps. People desire to feel certain before they have genuinely earned that certainty through effort and experience. But the universe simply does not operate that way. You do not passively wait for an elusive feeling of confidence to appear before taking action. Rather, you take action, deliberately and repeatedly, until your consistent actions themselves meticulously create the very confidence you seek. The undeniable truth is that skill builds belief. Every single time you show up, every moment you engage in deliberate practice, every instance you push through mistakes and setbacks, you are, in essence, carving confidence deep into the very bone and fiber of your being. And here is the crucial distinction. It is not merely about practicing, it is about practicing with intention. Half-hearted effort, Going through the motions without genuine engagement does not build deep confidence. Mindless repetition does not cultivate mastery. You must deliberately push yourself beyond the boundaries of easy comfort. You must consciously stretch your perceived limits, confronting and overcoming mental and physical resistance. Because when you possess the profound internal knowledge that you have trained harder, longer, and with more focused intensity than most people ever will, you inevitably walk into any room, any situation, any challenge with a fundamentally different demeanor. You do not need to loudly proclaim your abilities. You do not need to desperately convince anyone of your worth. That earned certainty simply emanates from you, subtly revealing itself in your calm movements, your steady voice, and your unshakable self-possession. Consider the professional athlete stepping onto the field of competition. They do not stand there plagued by agonizing doubts about their ability to perform. Why? Because they have already executed the necessary actions 1,000 times over in practice. The relentless repetition has ingrained muscle memory. Their body intuitively knows what to do. Their mind, honed by consistent effort, implicitly trusts its capacity to handle the immense pressure. That precisely is the invaluable gift that diligent training bestows upon you, an unshakable certainty that no external force can ever diminish or take away. Now imagine applying this identical, potent principle to various facets of your own life, to your career aspirations, to your communication skills, to your personal relationships. Imagine engaging in the kind of dedicated, intentional practice where your skills become so sharp, so deeply integrated, that you no longer waste precious energy questioning yourself. You simply perform. That is the essence of the quiet, yet immensely powerful, authority that people intuitively feel without you ever having to overtly announce it. So, how do you commence this transformative journey? First, honestly identify the specific areas where self-doubt most frequently holds you captive. Is it articulating your thoughts with conviction? Is it effectively leading and inspiring others? Is it maintaining composure under intense pressure? Once identified, make a profound commitment to training that skill deliberately and systematically. Read widely, study diligently, practice relentlessly, and repeat the process until the skill becomes an intrinsic second nature. And crucially, do not succumb to the temptation to quit when the process feels uncomfortable or challenging. That very discomfort, that internal resistance, is the clearest indicator that you are actively growing, that your capacities are expanding. Second, embrace mistakes not as failures, but as integral, invaluable components of the learning process. Every stumble is a potent lesson. Every perceived failure is simply another round of practice, another opportunity for refinement. Confidence is not the naive absence of mistakes. It is the unwavering ability to persist, to learn, and to keep moving forward until those mistakes no longer wield the power to control or define you. Third, consciously track and celebrate your progress. Periodically, take time to look back, to reflect on how far you have come. Confidence is nurtured and grows exponentially when you can tangibly observe your own improvement. When you realize that what once filled you with dread is now a routine task, something profound shifts within your psyche, permanently altering your self-perception. Here is the inherent beauty and liberation of this, or competence-based approach. No one, under any circumstances, can ever take away the skills and capabilities you have diligently trained for. Compliments may fade, external approval may vanish into thin air, but the deep, embodied skill you have cultivated remains an indelible part of you. And it is this hard-earned skill that meticulously builds unshakable certainty. Dangerous confidence is not about inflating your ego, puffing up your chest, or pretending to be fearless when you are not. It is about diligently doing the often unseen work behind the scenes, day after day, until you can step forward into any situation with a calm, assured, and undeniable certainty. Until you no longer need to whisper to yourself, "I think I can." Instead, you declare, with unwavering conviction, "I know I can." Train until skill becomes certainty. Because once you reach that point, you will discover that true confidence does not need to be loud or boastful. It is steady, unshakable, and undeniably potent. And it arises from one profound source, the deep, self-generated knowledge that you have truly earned it. Chapter 15. Live as if you need nothing. The ultimate, most profound level of confidence, the apex of dangerous confidence, is attained when you learn to live your life as if you need nothing. This is not born out of a cynical detachment or a rejection of all good things. It is not because you would not enjoy success, appreciate recognition, or cherish meaningful relationships. Rather, it's because your profound sense of worth, your inner peace, and your core identity are no longer precariously hinged on what others might give to you, or conversely, what they might take away. When your entire being is self-contained and self-sufficient, you step into a realm of freedom and power that most people, trapped in the endless cycle of external seeking, will never experience. The majority of humanity lives in a perpetual state of conscious or unconscious need. They desperately need external approval to feel secure. They constantly need attention to feel important. They fundamentally need specific results to feel proud of themselves, and because they are driven by these profound needs, they relentlessly chase. They chase fleeting validation. They chase the ephemeral applause of others. They chase external things that, ironically, tend to slip through their grasp the very moment they attempt to cling to them too tightly. And the more fervently they chase, the weaker, more desperate, and more insecure they ultimately become. But imagine for a moment the profound liberation of walking through life entirely unburdened by that gnawing hunger for external validation. Imagine pursuing your most ambitious goals, not because you desperately need them to complete you or fill an internal void, but because you consciously choose them as a powerful, authentic expression of the incredible person you already are. Imagine savoring the fruits of success, enjoying its rewards, but not allowing it to define your core identity. Imagine cultivating deeply meaningful relationships, built upon genuine choice and mutual respect, rather than on the shaky foundation of emotional desperation or codependency. That, precisely, is what it means to live as if you need nothing. This philosophy does not advocate for emotional coldness or a stoic isolation from the human experience. It certainly does not mean you reject good things or withdraw from the world. What it does mean is that you have meticulously built yourself up so strongly on the inside, cultivated such a robust internal fortress, that you would not crumble, would not be destroyed, should those external things, be they achievements, relationships, or possessions, suddenly disappear. You carry your own internal validation, your own profound sense of peace, and your own unassailable power within you. That precisely is what makes you truly dangerous, because no one, under any circumstance, can ever wield your perceived needs against you. Consider the profound implications. When an individual desperately needs approval, they become remarkably susceptible to manipulation. When someone desperately needs money, they can be easily bought or compromised. When someone desperately craves love or companionship, they will often settle for far less than they truly deserve, sacrificing their self-respect in the process. Need, in its unmanaged form, is a profound weakness, an open vulnerability. But when you move through the world with the quiet confidence that you already possess, everything you fundamentally need within your own being, you cannot be controlled, you cannot be bribed. You cannot be truly broken by external forces. This is the quintessential mindset of the strongest leaders, the most unshakable individuals throughout history. They may profoundly enjoy success, but they are never enslaved by it. They cherish their relationships, but they are not defined by them. They appreciate progress and achievement, but they do not collapse into despair if they encounter temporary setbacks. Their core identity is not tethered to outcomes, the fickle winds of approval, or the accumulation of possessions. Their profound, unshakable confidence flows from an internal, inexhaustible wellspring, not from the transient, conditional sources of the outside world. So, how does one embark on this transformative journey of living as if you need nothing? Begin by consciously shifting your focus profoundly inward. Instead of habitually asking, "What can others give me?" begin to inquire with sincere introspection, "What can I proactively give to myself?" Respect, discipline, purpose, integrity. These are not commodities that anyone else can hand to you. These are virtues that you must meticulously cultivate and provide for yourself day after day. The more diligently you provide for your own internal needs, the less you will crave or demand from others. Next, cultivate a profound and consistent practice of gratitude. When you are genuinely grateful for the abundance you already possess, the lessons learned, the growth experienced, the resilience forged through trials, you naturally cease obsessing over what you perceive to be lacking. Gratitude is a powerful antidote to desperation. It serves as a constant, gentle reminder that you are already rich in ways that truly matter, in ways that transcend material possessions or external validation. And finally, internalize the timeless wisdom that everything external is, by its very nature, temporary. Money can be lost in an instant. The roar of applause inevitably fades into silence. People, even cherished ones, will come and go. But who you are at your core, what you authentically stand for, and how you choose to carry yourself through the journey of life, that, my friend, is permanent. Build your foundational self on that unshakable truth, and you will never again harbor a debilitating fear of loss. Living as if you need nothing does not render you cold, aloof, or unfeeling. In a beautiful paradox, it makes you profoundly more magnetic. People are instinctively drawn to those who do not beg for attention, who do not cling desperately, who do not try too hard to impress. Why? Because neediness, in its various manifestations, often repels, whereas authentic strength and self-possession irresistibly attract. The individual who radiates the aura of not needing anything carries a profound sense of abundance, an internal richness that is simply captivating. This, then, is the ultimate and most profound stage of dangerous confidence. When you no longer chase approval, when you have systematically vanquished the fear of rejection, when you no longer rely on external validations to define your worth, you are truly, irrevocably free. You act out of conscious choice, not out of desperate need. You give generously because you genuinely desire to contribute, not because you are secretly hoping to receive something in return. You love authentically because it is a true expression of your being, not because you are seeking to fill an internal emptiness. Live as if you need nothing, because when you embody this truth, you will move through the world with a calm serenity that others will envy, an unshakable certainty that others will profoundly respect, and a quiet power that nothing, absolutely nothing, in this world can ever take away. That is dangerous confidence at its most magnificent peak. Conclusion. We have reached the end of our journey into how to become dangerously confident, and by now you understand that this profound state is far removed from superficial bravado or fleeting displays of arrogance. Confidence, the kind that truly endures, is not about shouting louder than the rest of the world. It is not about aggressively forcing people to notice you, or relentlessly chasing approval, or donning a mask to pretend you are someone you are not. True confidence is calm, it is steady. It is that rare and potent presence that does not need to tirelessly prove itself, because it already possesses an inherent, unshakable knowing of its own profound value. And the most dangerous form of confidence, the kind this audiobook has meticulously guided you toward, is built upon one simple, yet utterly transformative truth. You learn to react to nothing, and therefore nothing and no one can truly control you. Over these chapters we have walked hand in hand through the essential principles that build this kind of unshakable self-belief, one brick at a time. You have learned the profound liberation that comes from stopping the unnecessary cycle of explaining yourself. You have discovered the immense power of mastering your inner voice, transforming it from a critic into your most powerful ally. We explored how to build a robust foundation of self-respect before true confidence can ever truly blossom, and how to decisively kill the debilitating need for external approval that so often holds us captive. You have ventured into the strategic power of silence, understanding its disarming effect and how it can make your words carry greater weight. You have grasped the silent authority of body language, learning how your physical presence communicates volumes before you ever utter a word. We made the crucial shift from living a life of constant reaction to actively leading with intention and purpose. You have been powerfully reminded that discomfort is not an enemy to be avoided, but the very crucible where genuine growth and resilience are forged. You discovered the wisdom in speaking less to command more, ensuring every word you utter resonates with clarity and impact. You have been shown how to transform the sting of rejection into powerful fuel for your journey, understanding it as redirection rather than defeat. We embraced the strength inherent in detaching from outcomes, anchoring your worth in your process and effort, not in fickle results. You learned the critical importance of setting and holding boundaries without apology, protecting your vital energy and self-respect. We practiced how to stand calm and centered amidst the swirling winds of chaos, becoming an anchor of stability when others unravel. And you have seen the undeniable truth that true confidence is earned through diligent training, cultivating skills until they become an undeniable certainty within you. Finally, you have been guided to the ultimate level of self-mastery, living as if you need nothing, deriving your peace and power from within. This transformative journey is not, and never will be, about achieving a mythical state of perfection. It is, fundamentally, about consistent, unwavering progress. It is about diligently building yourself, day by day, into an individual who no longer bends to every passing opinion, who no longer crumbles under the weight of external pressure, and no longer waits for permission to step fully into their own magnificent power. True confidence is not boastful, it is quiet, yet it is utterly undeniable. It does not need to loudly announce its presence, because it is eloquently written in the deliberate way you move, the considered way you speak, and the unshakable way you carry yourself through all the storms and successes of life. So I urge you, take these invaluable lessons and live them. Do not merely understand them in theory, consciously apply them, utilize them in your daily conversations, in the face of daunting challenges, and particularly in those moments when life attempts to shake your very foundation. And always remember, This is not about attempting to become someone else entirely. It is about the profound and liberating process of becoming the absolute strongest, most authentic, and most powerful version of yourself. Because when you learn to react to nothing, you gain control over everything that truly matters. You become untouchable. You become a steady, unyielding force in a world saturated with noise and distraction. You become a person others simply cannot ignore, not because you demand their attention, but because your very presence, your quiet strength, your dangerous confidence inherently commands it. That power is already residing within you, waiting patiently to be fully claimed. Now, go forth and live it.